He told Walter Cronkite last winter that there were unknown risks in an actual declaration of war on North Vietnam.
I didn't ask for a declaration of war because I didn't know what treaty China might have with North Vietnam, or Russia might have with North Vietnam. The communists have these agreements among themselves. And if we declared war against North Vietnam, that might automatically declare war against China and bring them in, trigger the thing, or the Soviet Union.
The president, you remember, was in the midst of a campaign for the presidency. His platform was, I'm against the widening of the war. He used to say in his speeches, I am not about to send American boys to Asia to fight the battles that Asian boys should fight, and similar statements. Barry Goldwater was supposed to be the warmonger and the hawk. And this is one reason I was taken in. I was supporting the idea of Johnson. So a declaration of war is just the opposite of what this was represented to be. This was a resolution to prevent a war. Now, I think if he'd come in for a war, the country would have been shocked. I don't think they had any idea of going to war in this way.
But I didn't want any doubt about the American Congress. Anyone served in Congress 25 years, as I had served in Congress, wasn't about to undertake the responsibilities and the dangers that I had in South Vietnam without the Congress being with me. And the Congress was with me before that resolution went up. Every single man in that room recommended it and advocated it. But when the going got hard, when the road got longer and dustier, when the casualties started coming in, why, there's certain folks started looking for the cellar. I know a good many of them have, and I don't question their right to do so. I don't even criticize them for taking that position if that's what their conscience dictates. But I just wish their conscience had been operating when they were making all these other decisions, because Congress gave us this authority in August 1964 to do whatever may be necessary. That's pretty far-reaching. That's the sky's the limit.
At the time, I referred to it as another sinking of the Maine.
Suggesting?
Well, you know what the best historical advice is in regard to the sinking of the Maine. It was a deliberate act on the part of the United States to have an excuse to go to a war against Spain. The Gulf of Tonkin was a deliberate, aggressive act on the part of the Johnson administration to justify making war against North Vietnam.
3 weeks after the Tonkin incident, the Maddox put into Subic Bay in the Philippines. Investigators from the Pentagon came aboard and interrogated most of the crew. Testimony only of those who thought they had seen enemy action was later presented to the Fulbright Committee. No testimony from those who thought nothing was there. Former Senator Wayne Morse.
Well, don't pay any attention to what the military says after the fact to make a case before the fact. If you rely upon the American military for credibility, then you're easy prey.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to have you here.
Thanks.
I'm a first-year student in South Asia Studies. My question is in regards to private military contractors. The Uniform Code of Military Justice does not apply to these contractors in Iraq. I asked your Secretary of Defense a couple months ago what law governs their actions. Mr.
I was going to ask him. Go ahead. Help.
Well, I was hoping your answer might be a little more specific. Mr. Rumsfeld answered that Iraq has its own domestic laws, which he assumed applied to those private military contractors. However, Iraq is clearly not currently capable of enforcing its laws, much less against, over our American military contractors. I would submit to you that in this case, this is one case that privatization is not a solution. And Mr. President, how do you propose to bring private military contractors under a system of law?
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. I wasn't kidding. I'd pick up the phone and say, Mr. Secretary, I got an interesting question. This is what delegation, I don't mean to be dodging the question, although it's kind of convenient in this case, but never. I really will. I'm going to call the secretary and say you brought up a very valid question, and what are we doing about it? That's how I work. Thanks.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look forward...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
A lot of our allies in Europe do a lot of business with Iran, so I wonder what your thoughts are about how you further tighten the financial pressure on Iran in particular, if it also means economic pain for a lot of our allies.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. One of the problems, not specifically on this issue, just in general, let's put it this way: money trumps peace sometimes. In other words, commercial interests are very powerful interests throughout the world. And part of the issue in convincing people to put sanctions on a specific country is to convince them that it's in the world's interest that they forego their own financial interest.
We have prosecuted scores of terrorists in our courts. It's in a court of law that we will try Dr. Charnev, who's accused of bombing the Boston Marathon. The way we treat you is the measure of our own liberty. When we went, he went on to, we went on, we're addressing that, ma'am.